Hey, you guys, this is my first ever podcast, so it's not going to be perfect. A lot of things didn't go as planned. I planned to post this video about 2 weeks ago, but I talk about it later in the episode that I was trying to mint an NFT for this podcast for each episode. That is taking a lot longer than I thought it would, so it's not quite ready yet. But I'm still gonna post the video because I really just want to get this video out there. It's a great video. I'm still learning how to edit. I edited this thing all by myself at like 1 a.m. at night, so please don't be too judgmental. And that's about it. Thank you. Okay, Sade, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, totally. So my name's Sade, and I am currently taking a gap year. I graduated high school summer 2020, and because of Corona, I just decided it would be best for me to take a gap year because it was going to be a lot of money just to do online schooling. So I ended up just getting online and I just ended up getting online and looking for new things to do because I really just don't like to sit around and do nothing. I learned I'm really bad at that. And there's this website called Ladder. Shout out to them. I think it's ladder.co or something like that. And it's for college students. And they have like all these cool different programs that you can sign up for. And one of them, it was called the Creator Institute, and they help you to write a book about anything you want. It can be fiction or nonfiction. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I definitely have to write a book with my year off. Like, that's what I want to do. And one thing that's been pretty interesting to me for a long time has been blockchain. And I got into it because of my dad. And this year I decided to go more in depth. And so I ended up starting to write a book about blockchain. And that's what I've been doing for the past year.
So, how long have you been into blockchain? It didn't. Did it start with this idea of a book, or was it before that?
I started definitely when my dad first introduced it to me in 2017. He had learned about it through a friend, and he would just talk about it to me all the time because he's in QA, so he's like an engineer. And back then, it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was different for me because I don't know how to do coding or engineering, and it was actually quite confusing, and I just didn't understand it back then. So over the years he kept talking to me about it, and slowly I got to understand it more. And then this year when I had the time off, I figured like if I really wanted to learn it, it'd be helpful to write a book. And I wanted to write this book because I know I don't know how to code or be like do engineering types of things. And there are other people who want to learn about blockchain as well who feel like they can't get into the field because they don't know how to code and they'll think it's too hard. And I want it to be a book about how you can still get into the field even if you don't know how to code. So that was a big thing for me. Like you can do marketing or community building. There's so many opportunities in the field, and I think it's just something that more people should know about.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I definitely do not understand the whole blockchain. Uh, I'm still slowly getting into it. When you say he introduced you to it in 2017, what do you mean by that? Bitcoin or other sides of blockchain? What did he do?
Yeah. So he introduced me to Bitcoin in 2017. He's not necessarily, he's like not a big Bitcoin person. That was never his favorite thing. He's more of altcoins. So he will like talk to me about cool projects that he's learned about, the wins, the losses. So I learned a lot more about like altcoins than Bitcoin.
Really? So in 2017, what were like some of the prevalent altcoins? Do you know any of them?
Hmm. Yeah, so actually, one of the ones that he's had since like 2017, it's called VEVE, and it's really taking off right now. And it's a collectibles NFT, and I actually have a few of them because of him. And they have like Adventure Time collectibles, Batman collectibles. They're going to partner with NFL soon and do some collectibles with them, which I think is really cool because we've seen how Top Shot is taking off, NBA Top Shot, and I think that'll be definitely really interesting when that comes out.
So by collectibles, are we getting into the NFT side of blockchain?
Yeah, that was definitely NFTs. Yes.
Okay, so and you said what was the company? you're talking
Yeah.
about right then?
So their app is called VVVEVE, and then their token is I believe it's OMI, OMI,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's a little bit about the NFT space.
So that's one thing I don't quite understand about the NFT space is I just see all these people posting random dunk clips and all these things, and you actually sent me a few screenshots of some animated characters. Are those licensed? Like, is the parent company saying, "Oh yeah, you can sell these NFTs," or is it just somebody stealing the character and republishing it?
Yeah, so the ones I sent you, they were from the app I was just talking about, and I believe those ones are licensed. Yes, I just checked, but I'm like 90% sure. And a lot, like to your point though, a lot of things are being used that don't have licenses. Like I was on Twitter yesterday, and this guy he recently created an NFT on OpenSea, and it's like all the Fortune 100 companies logos and an R symbol. It's a copyright symbol, and he did not get the permission. And then at the bottom of his tweet, he was like, "I'll give 5% of the profits to guess who will give me a cease and desist letter first." And I was like,
Oh
"Oh,
man.
that's like so metal."
Oh, yeah, I saw something. I think you liked it too. It was Elon Musk. He had that song NFT, and then somebody retweeted it, and then they said, "I'm gonna be selling my retweet of Elon's tweet as an NFT." I guess I just don't quite understand the whole Twitter post side of the NFTs. Like, do you think that holds value? Do you think that'll be worth something in 5, 10 years?
To be honest, I think anything can hold value at this point. Everybody's different. There's so many different types of people out there. Like one thing that may not be valuable to you or me might be valuable to somebody else. And I think that's a big part of it is it just depends on the person. Like there's going to be a lot of people who never get into NFTs because like you, they may not understand the value, but other people can see that, oh, this is going to be a big space, and I can, if I buy something, I'll be able to resell it. So I think a big thing is the fact that people know that they can resell it for more money, even if the whole thing is you just have a picture. Because like you said, actually, a bunch of NFTs that you buy, they can be, people can just screenshot it and then they'll have the NFT you have. But the difference is with the blockchain technology and NFTs, they have unique token values. So you can show that you have the original, there's proof of it, which I think makes it more interesting than when we just took a picture of something. Now you actually have proof online.
That does make sense. I'm slowly starting to understand that. I know a bunch of people are just fighting, saying you could just take a screenshot, which, I mean, it works.
But like with the screenshot thing, a lot of people talk about how, you know, you can just take a picture of the Mona Lisa, but it doesn't mean you actually have the Mona Lisa, which I think is pretty interesting because I actually did get to go visit the Mona Lisa one time and I have a picture of it. And I would definitely say it's not the same thing as having the real one. I was like, my picture is low quality, it's crooked,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just not necessarily the same.
I guess that's true in a physical aspect. Like, I guess I don't know. I just have like this random piece of art right here. You could take a picture of it, but with a digital item, like if I just send you a JPEG, it's a lot easier just to mimic it, right? I just maybe it'll be more secure in the future. Maybe it'll continue to grow like that. But I don't see how people are selling things like here. I wish I could pull it up. Somebody sold. I guess we could just bring up the most popular one right now. What was his name? Beeple.
Mm-hmm.
He sold that. I haven't done too much research on it, but it was like $69 million digital art of what was that?
Yeah, so I think that's so interesting. I've actually did a little bit of research on him, and he's been making art for 12 years. So I did like this thing about like how much he spent 12 years, like he probably made money, but he wasn't making any type of money like this. And then I divided it by the years he's been making art for, and like just based off of his sales, like in the past 2 or 3 weeks, that's like $5 million a year if you divide it by like the 65 by 12 or whatever. And I was like, it took him 12 years to make 5 million a year. That's crazy, but like a lot of people would never see that type of money. But to your point, the interesting thing about Beeple is actually his art sold for $69 million, but a lot of people, they took it afterwards and they just took a screenshot of it for free. So there's a lot of people who have that. But like I said earlier, people just understand the value of having the original one. And as we move more into this new paradigm where we increasingly move online, I think it won't even be as much of a big deal because we don't even spend as much time just thinking about the physical world. We like to hold on to the sense that, yeah, the physical world is important, which I definitely think it is. And sometimes I feel like we're getting a little brainwashed by the internet. But with this change and people just spending so much time, I really don't think it'll be as big of a deal as like the next 5-10 years come on.
Yeah, we definitely are being a little brainwashed during quarantine. You see our little phases. Everyone went through the whole Dogecoin phase, the GameStop phase, the sports cards, the Pokemon cards, and now everyone seems to be talking about NFTs. So I definitely agree with you on that point. And let's actually talk more about your book. What I know you did say that it was a challenging topic, so you wanted to write a book on it. But why exactly crypto? I'm sure there's hundreds of other difficult topics to write about.
I felt like I had enough knowledge to be able to do this and do a great job at it, and also learn and talk to amazing people in the field. Like, it's been so amazing. I've gotten to talk to a lot of cool people who are doing cool things, whether it's in VC or founders of companies that help other people invest in it. People are just really open to talking about their experiences in crypto. So it's been fun getting to meet this new audience of people that I probably would have never even known about if I hadn't journeyed into this.
Yeah, the networking part is definitely fun. I've experienced that with just the podcast. Like I'm just reaching out to people here and there, people I want to learn from, and to have you here is great. So thank you. One thing I had a question about is you said that they're helping you write this book. How much involvement do they have in this book? I'm not too sure who you said it was. It was a program you said, right? To help gap year students find something to do. How much involvement do they have?
A program for anybody, it doesn't really matter, college students, older, younger, but their involvement basically is I write all the book and stuff, and I got an editor and make it like sound nicer. But other than that, they would just tell me if they understood what I was talking about, because my editor, she didn't know what blockchain was, which definitely helped me to make sure that I was teaching it in a way that was helpful to people who would be reading it, which I think was very helpful. And another thing is they help you with the marketing of your book and things like that. So it's been a great program altogether.
Yeah.
You
So,
also get a really big community, which I love.
like-minded community, right? That's
Hmm.
always great. Uh, so okay. uh, how big is the book? Like, I know you're still learning more information about the blockchain, so it's obviously not going to be like a huge book, right? It's just how big is this book? How long is this book?
Yeah, it's about 12 to 13 chapters, and I try to cover a variety of topics that I think are really important, such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then I have a chapter just on other altcoins that I put those together, and then NFTs, um, other coins out there. So it's really trying to focus on the ecosystem, but not just like as separate pieces of, more about how you can put them together and how they work together, which I think is really important, because I know even though my book doesn't go necessarily into like how do you code
Mm-hmm.
um, your own blockchain and stuff like that, it'll help people to become more knowledgeable so they could even get into the space as other sides outside of coding if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm. And I do know that you seem to be more into the NFT side of crypto. I'm more into the whole currency side of it. Do you this is just a big question. Do you think that cryptocurrencies will one day replace our currencies we have now?
Yeah. So as I've researched, I feel like that We will still have the US dollar. I don't think that'll go away in our lifetime, to be honest. But I do feel like there will be more people using cryptocurrencies in their day-to-day life, and it'll be supplementary, and people will see the value in them over time.
A lot of people speculate when they talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. They say, "Oh, it's going to get to $1 million a coin." Do you see that happening?
I mean, in the time we live in, I feel like anything's possible. Do I think that will happen? I'm not sure about that. I could see the 250K number that people have there now. I'm not sure if that will happen this year or in the next few years. I don't know when we'll hit that number. I think we'll probably go through another bear market before we hit something like that. Because I mean, if you look at the economy right now, like we're just throwing more fake dollars and they're just printing more money and money. And I just, maybe it can go on forever, but every time people think, oh, this will be different than the last market crash, like what I've read about, it doesn't necessarily change. There's like always a market crash and people think, oh, it's going to be different this time, and it's just not.
Yeah, that one point, what was it, $1.9 trillion stimulus they just sent out? That's crazy. That was crazy. That
I'm still waiting for mine. I'm like,
yeah, me
where's my
too.
money?
I don't even think I'm gonna get mine, to be honest.
Neither do I.
Okay, so you said your father introduced you to cryptocurrencies in 2017. When did you get into cryptocurrencies? When did you get your first coin, your first NFT, anything like that?
Yeah, so I got my first coins and stuff like last year, at the very end of last year. Um, I'm pretty sure like if you want to get into cryptocurrencies like on Coinbase, they have KYC and stuff. So I'm not even sure you can get in at if you're under 17.
Oh
Or
yes, yeah.
I wonder how. I've always thought about that. I never looked into it that much when I was younger, but because I know when I signed up, I had to do like my social security number and all that stuff. And usually with financial information, they don't let people under 18 under. So I just kind of thinking about, I wonder how people are getting in,
Mhm.
even though there are other ways outside of Coinbase that you can get it actually. So that's interesting. But I got my first one like closer to the end of last year.
Yeah, cuz I started looking into Bitcoin. Uh I was probably like 17, 16 a few years ago. Um and I signed up for Coinbase like everyone else, and asked for my social security. I was like, I maybe I just didn't grasp on to how that helps with the decentralized currency and how the government somehow taxes us on this. Uh, I don't understand that. I do know there's a few ways, peer to peer at least, like as in meeting up with somebody and exchanging crypto.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing that you hit on though, like with the decentralization. Though Coinbase is a centralized exchange, actually, which is kind of the opposite of blockchain, because they always like say decentralization, decentralization, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
But I've learned over time that even having a centralized exchange isn't necessarily a bad thing because it helps beginners like in the who are interested in this to learn and get in a little bit slower than just trying to jump onto a completely decentralized exchange and getting burned really badly. Like I remember when I was talking to people, I was like, why would people buy Bitcoin on PayPal or Cash App? Because fun fact, those Bitcoins that you buy on Cash App and PayPal, they're not your Bitcoin.
Hmm.
They can cash you out at any point, and there's like you can't stop them. So I think that's something to keep in mind. But that's still another way that people can get exposure to these different cryptocurrencies if they don't feel as comfortable getting into the nitty gritty of it, which I do think is also important.
So you don't seem to like the whole Robinhood, all Cash App, PayPal. You don't like those cryptocurrency brokers because they don't really you don't really own the coins, right?
Exactly. You do not own your coins there. And I feel like if you end up accumulating a large amount of them over time, and you're finally like, oh, they're worth something, and maybe it keeps going up, and then all of a sudden Cash App decides, okay, it's time for us to take you out of this, then even if it was going to go up more, you're not going to get any more money for that. Or maybe you decide, okay, I finally want to transfer over to an actual account that deals with cryptocurrency. You can't take that money with you. You have to
Hmm.
start over.
Yeah, it's crazy that they're allowed to do that. What advice do you have for young entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs up and coming uh, in the next few years?
I think the biggest thing that I would say is I feel like everybody says this, and I learned this recently, is like the best advice is pretty overused, because you just, if you follow it, it'll work out pretty well for you. But I would say, pick something that you can like build a community with, or helps you to meet new people. Like, you're writing a podcast. I mean, you're doing a podcast, so you're able to talk to new people, make new connections, build your brand. And with the growing of the creator economy, it's all about building a brand around yourself, and how do you add value to other people's lives and help them to be the best selves that they can be. And with my book, I'm able to meet new people in blockchain and build community around that, make new friends, and just learn. So I feel like if you can find something where you can write about something you're passionate about, talk to people that you have the same passions with, and then also create a tangible project that showcases this, you're going to go really far as long as you stay consistent with it. That's a big thing. I feel like for a long time, you're not going to see the results that you want to see, and you have to be okay with that. Like a lot of the most successful people, they went years without anybody ever noticing them, and you only notice them when they're successful and they have done all the great things. But that it took a lot of time and effort to get there, and you'll only get there if you're patient with yourself, and you don't look, well, why am I not there yet? Because you just have to put in the time, and it'll eventually come out. Like, I'm not going to say I'm the most successful person ever or anything, but you just keep putting in the time every day, and eventually you'll get where you want to be.
That's very true. I like how you said there's really like baby steps to getting what you want, and it's going to take time. Do you see blockchain and do you see you writing this book as baby steps? Do you see either of those two topics in your future?
Mm. Yeah, so I definitely have some ideas for things I want to do in blockchain. I'm still looking for a coder engineer. If somebody ever hears this, and, hit me up if
Hit
you
her
want
up.
to learn about a project. I want to do a project that deals with NFTs and fashion, because I also write a sustainability and fashion blog with my friends. So it's kind of interesting. I want to build an intersection of my two favorite things. And so yeah, I definitely see this in my future.
Would you like to talk more about that sustainability blog you got?
Yeah, so it's called etherealism.org, ETHEREALISM, because who can spell etherealism? But the name's pretty darn cool, if I do say so
Yeah.
myself. But we just noticed that a lot of we like the fashion industry is really bad for the environment, and like it's actually the second worst industry for our environment after the oil industry. And we just wanted to bring more people to notice this and thoughtfulness, because we have to make a change, because the environment's a really important thing. And it's been really fun talking about it. I actually did my first article piece on digital fashion, and that was really fun to talk about. And I even got to do some interviews on that, so I even put a little bit of my digital fashion in there as well. And then just also talk about like overall resources, so you can educate yourself more on why it's important. Like, we noticed that the biggest thing is, it's not that people don't want to be sustainable or do better things for the earth. They just don't feel like they have the resources or time to go find them for themselves. So we try to help give them the resources in a quick and efficient manner.
I definitely agree because a few years ago I saw a video. I believe they called it fast fashion, something like that, where these companies just constantly make and destroy clothes. Uh, that was one of the reasons I actually turned
into a minimalist in a sense. Uh, in reality, it's just me being picky, not picky with my clothes. I have 10 of the same shirts, 10 of the same pairs of pants, and I just go based off of that. Uh, how would you involve the NFT world into sustainable fashion?
Well, actually, I've been doing a lot of reading on the NFT world, and not so fun fact, it's actually pretty bad for the environment. Because whenever people are buying all these NFTs, they end up having to be stored on the blockchain, and this includes mining and different things. And all the computing power that it takes for the blockchain to store this is actually really bad for the environment because it creates a lot of emissions of like carbon and different things like that. And people are looking into ways to make it more sustainable. But it feels like whenever any new product, just overall industry comes out, they never tend to be sustainable over the long run, which is pretty sad, but it seems to be a common theme.
Do you know a few of those? Do you know a few of the ways that they're trying to make crypto more sustainable?
Okay, so the most interesting thing I heard, I was listening to a clubhouse and it was talking about the mining process, and the mining process is basically how people, like if you want to buy some Bitcoin, somebody has to use their computing power to mine that Bitcoin, and then you can buy it. So the mining is what takes up a lot of the power, and it's the systems themselves. So people want to put these computer systems in space so that they don't offset like carbon emissions on Earth, but instead it just goes into the cold space. And not only does it keep the carbon off of Earth, it also keeps the systems from overheating.
That's a very interesting take on that. I have never heard that. So you interviewed people for your book, correct?
Yes.
Who are the few people that you've talked to, and what did you, what information did you obtain from these people?
So I've talked to about 10 or 15 people so far. And I've talked to people in the different industries, such as like NFTs, Bitcoin, just basically anything you can think of. I've talked to college students, people in the industry, such as VC or doing a startup. One guy that I talked to, he is the creator of this company called Crypto EQ. His name's Spencer Randall. He was actually my very first interview. And we just talked a little bit about like how would you go about investing in crypto, because what his company does is they help people to learn about like Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, and they do write-ups on them, which I think is amazing. So they make it simple, and they also have like a rating system, which I think is really nice to look at. And so I just got to talk to him about those different things and learn about like how does investing really work, if how do you rate your companies, you know? So that was a really cool thing to learn about. And then I also got to talk to, her name's Meltem, and she works at CoinShares, and she talked to me about Bitcoin, and she gave me a lot of wonderful insights about Bitcoin. And I think the weirdest thing that I got from like her interview is because I learned a lot about Bitcoin from her, but she was a really good storyteller, and she was like great at just explaining the information in such a simple way. And it, for me, that was like a much bigger thing for me than the Bitcoin itself, which was kind of interesting because I was like, wow, she has such a nice flow of words, and she's able to like just tell a story that makes sense. And I was like, this is how I want to write my book. I want to write my book like how she talks.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing that people in the crypto industry realize that's a really complex topic, and they really need to simplify it. And it's great that you're writing your book about that, because I talking about my wallet with my parents, and they're like, okay, it's a wallet. No, you got one of these tiny things that holds your Bitcoin. They really don't understand it. So it's really great that you guys are doing that. It's a great idea to simplify it for people.
Yeah, and then the last person I talked to who I really enjoyed, her name was Jane Lippincott, and she talked about NFTs and she works at a VC firm, and I really enjoyed talking to her. She was so helpful, and just I learned so much from her, and she's such an amazing person. So, like, I'm not gonna lie, that's definitely my favorite part of writing this book. Writing a book is hard. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
It
I'm
takes a
sure.
lot of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to sit down and be like, you know what, I'm gonna write and do my research for this amount of time and just get it done. But yeah, definitely the interviews have been my favorite part, and just getting to learn from people in the industry who are doing really cool things and who see a future that's different than what we have right now, and they can like see the world changing. I think that's a big thing I've noticed within the blockchain industry is a lot of people get into it because they want to make a big change in the world, and like it feels like blockchain's one of the industries like that's new enough to that you can still have a lasting impact on over a long period of time.
Talking more about your book, when is it going to be published?
Yes, so it's going to be published in December of 2021. It was originally going to be August, but like I said, writing a book's hard sometimes. So it's coming out this year, 1000%. I'm going to be 19 when I publish this book,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually halfway through it, and I've been really grinding on this book. So I'm supposed to have the manuscript done by May 5th, and then I'll go on to like marketing and editing my book, which I'm really excited about. And I also really want to start my blog and start posting about it there as well, because I do feel like it's important to put out some content now and to not wait to help people until like the book comes out. Like I can help people now, so why not?
Mm-hmm. Where are you going to sell this book?
It's going to go on Kickstarter, and I'm going to raise on there, and you can get early access, and there'll be special tiers and stuff for that version. And then when the official launch happens, it will be on Amazon, and you can buy it there. And I'm really excited for the Kickstarter event because I want to do my own NFT launch with my book, and I'm going to have an artist create a special thing, a special cover so that people can buy. And I also want to get these tags or these QR codes that can go in your book, and when you scan them, they'll all automatically go on the blockchain, so people can also get some real world experience with having an NFT of their own.
See, that's genius. I was actually thinking about doing that, but for the podcast, like make one token for the first episode, two tokens for the second episode, so then somehow your token would be worth $1 million one day. So it's definitely a good idea. I've heard when I look up videos about NFTs, I hear multiple people say that people in the music industry can put their songs as NFTs. How does that work? How?
Yeah, so actually, there's a great example of this. A singer named Grimes, I think it was about a week or two ago, she put her like an album on one of the, I think it was OpenSea or one of the websites like that, and she made $6 million off of her music. Yeah. So a great thing about NFTs is it with like, okay, so with like products such as Spotify, there's third parties, there's your record label, there's all these people that end up taking a cut of your money, and the artists end up not making very much at all. But with NFTs, you're able to put your own artwork up there, and there's no middleman taking your money or stopping you. The only middleman is probably the Ethereum gas fees and stuff like that. But other than that, that's nothing on $6 million. That's maybe like $100 gas fee, which is high for a lot of people. But when you think about $6 million, that's a drop in the bucket. So I think that's really interesting.
And for the people that are still getting into NFTs and still getting into crypto, what is a gas fee?
Yes. So there's different blockchains that you can create NFT products on, but the most popular one is the Ethereum blockchain. And so basically what happens is whenever you buy anything with Ether, which is the cryptocurrency for Ethereum, you have to pay a gas fee, which is basically the extra money ends up going to miners. And as more people use the Ethereum network, the gas fees are higher, and when less people use it, the gas fees are lower. And that's why Ethereum is going through a lot of changes, with changing from proof of work to proof of stake, which is a whole nother thing we could get into. But basically, once that happens, they're going to work on changing to this new version, and it's called like ETH 2.0. And once that happens, gas fees will be lower, and there won't be as much money like that you end up losing when you buy stuff. So the gas fees are basically like taxes, actually. Yeah, that's the easiest way to think of them.
Whenever I go on my ledger, I see an option to stake my Ethereum, and somehow they give me back, I believe it was like 8 to 17% a year. How do they do that? Where does that money come from?
What you're seeing is yield farming, and whenever you stake your money, they want to give you an incentive to stake your money, so they give you a percent of coins back. And this is through, they just basically write an algorithm, I believe, that does this for you. And the space is crazy. Like, I was talking to my dad about it today because he does a little bit of yield farming, and there's this website called Phantom, and basically you can stake your money on there, and once you get to a certain amount, it's crazy what you can do. Basically, you can get a loan from the website that you staked your money on, and when you get that loan, you can get like 30,000 phantom coins, and then you can put it back into the project, and then you'll make even more money off of it, which I just think makes no sense. Because I'm like, DeFi, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I totally understand. I'm still learning about DeFi, because I just think the way that money works is crazy. It's basically just coded money. They just made a way to code it, and you can make a lot of money. Like, as long as the Phantom project keeps going up, the loan that you took out to make more money, you're going to end up making more money off of that, and then you just pay back your loan. But of course, if the project ends up going down, they're going to just take all your money and liquidate you out, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it can be kind of risky if you don't know what you're doing.
It's definitely a huge risk.
Like, I've never done yield farming because I don't understand it well enough to do it.
Mm-hmm. I understand that. I do understand that even any blockchain, even the stable coins, there is a certain amount of risk. Some people are actually saying to change the way we invest. So most people put money into bonds, money into stocks, but some people are saying to at least put 5 to 10% into cryptos. Do you see putting money into crypto for retirement a good idea?
I do have money in the stock market as well as cryptos, but I would definitely choose putting money in cryptos and the stock market over putting money in bonds. Bonds, I feel like, are literally worthless nowadays. Like, even with the chance at, like, the yield on bonds has slightly risen because the economy is not doing great right now. But I just don't feel like it's worth your time to put your money into bonds. Like, everybody says a security analysis is made by Benjamin Graham. So is The Intelligent Investor, actually. Yes. So you read those books. I've read both of them, and he talks a lot about bonds. And every time I read the word bond, I'm not gonna lie, I skipped over. I was like, I'm never gonna buy a bond in my life. You're funny if you think I am, because I just don't feel like bonds give you, it's not 1970s anymore. You're really not going to make any money off of your bonds. You have a better bet putting your money into cryptocurrency than bonds. But also with bonds, I mean, your money's less likely to go down. With cryptocurrencies, it could 100x or it could go to zero.
Yeah, because I do know
You
back
just
in the
have to
day.
determine your risk tolerance.
Because I do know back in the day, bonds used to give back like a 15% a year, and that'd be crazy. But now it's 1%, 2% max. Like, it's not worth it anymore. And you did say yeah. Oh yeah, no, it doesn't even make sense. What's inflation at? That's like 3% a year.
So
It's
you're
crazy.
losing money if you put your money into bonds.
Yeah, that's why I really find the whole Ethereum staking and staking your cryptocurrencies crazy, because they're giving you past what the inflation rate is, and you're getting a appreciating investment. So I just don't understand. I guess I do need to research more into that. Now, you did say that your interest really wasn't ever too focused on Bitcoin. Why do you see Ethereum as superior to Bitcoin?
Mm. So I definitely see Bitcoin as a great, vehicle that's a great investment vehicle, but one I feel like I personally see it as an investment vehicle that is just too much money for me to ever really make anything off of, if I'm being honest. And two, another great thing about Bitcoin is the fact this is the whole point of Bitcoin itself actually is to help give people freedom to money, because like you have to have a bank account in a lot of places to get money, loans, different things, but with Bitcoin nobody's ever stopping you from being able to send and receive money from anywhere in the world, which I think is amazing. So it helps a lot of people in underprivileged places or places where their money is really unstable to have a better chance like have a better chance with their money situation. And I think that's really important. And Bitcoin does a great job with this. So I see just Bitcoin and Ethereum as two different use cases. So with Bitcoin, it's about, helping to give people freedom with money. And I think Ethereum is just changing the way that we see the internet altogether, especially with their smart contracts, which is basically programmable money. You can program money to say this if this contract meets certain criteria, then give this person money or do this specific thing. And I think that's a really interesting use case because there's so many different industries that have been able to be built on Ethereum, such as the NFT space, decentralized finance. They're building stable coins on there. They're building companies, fashion companies on there. I follow this one company called Digital LAX, which I truly do enjoy, and they're a digital fashion company actually. And there's just so many different things that you can build on Ethereum, and I feel like the possibilities are kind of endless because you can use it as like an investment vehicle if you want, because if you think, oh, okay, if I put $2,000 into that there today, maybe one day it'll be worth 10,000. So it's an investment vehicle. It's a place where you can find great projects. You can trade money on there. You can do so many different things, and I just feel like there's so many more use cases for Ethereum than there is Bitcoin, and I just think it's way more exciting to me personally.
Okay, and you bring up a good topic there. I understand. I at least am now slowly starting to realize how similar Bitcoin was to how gold was. How it's really clunky. It's horrible to use. Like nobody's gonna. It's such a long transaction time. Back in the day, they didn't want to just bring a hunk of gold somewhere to transact, so they made the cash system. And I'm starting to see that Bitcoin is slowly turning into what gold was, and all the other cryptos are turning into what cash is now. A few topics that you brung up in that discussion right there. I know we've talked on this a little bit, a little back. Digital fashion. What's the use case for that? Like, am I just gonna order an NFT of a dress, or is it gonna go on a character in a game, or what? What's how am I going to use digital fashion?
So yes, I love this question. Basically, so the company I was talking about earlier called Digital LAX, right now they're an auction space where they auction off clothing for by different creators, and a lot of people buy them. Like there's clothing items on there that's going for $30,000, and I just think that's absolutely crazy, and people buy it. And so basically, what they do is they have like a 3-tier system that they're going for. And right now, basically, you can buy clothes and you just own them. But over time, they want to create interoperability, which means that when you buy clothes on their marketplace, you can put them into different games. So like you can put them on your character in like Decentraland, which is a blockchain game that's on the internet, and they eventually want to be able to use it on companies such as like Fortnite and Unity games, which I think is a really interesting use case. And I love that. And it's going to take time for them to get there, but they have done a lot of cool things already. And a lot of people have faith in their project, like their coin. They only put like 10,000 out there, so it's worth $1,000 right now. And I think over time, if it really takes off, that company will be worth a lot of money, because of, I think their project's like truly amazing and will help to integrate blockchain more with other things out there, because I think that's going to be a big thing. Once blockchain products can be integrated with non-blockchain projects, it's over with.
That's a really interesting thing you just said. So, when I buy a thing, a piece of clothing from Digital LAX, you said something about Decentraland. Is that a video game? What could you explain more about Decentraland?
Yeah, so Decentraland is an online video game. Like if you just type in the website, it'll come up and you can just hop in the game and play. And like they have like a little marketplace where you can buy items. And I'm not sure if Digital LAX is affiliated with them right now, but the whole point is to be able to get into those video games. And so that's one video game that I know about. There's a lot of different things, games that people are creating, and I just think that's another thing actually, is like even the art NFTs that were being seen being sold, you could eventually be able to put them in your video games and maybe show them off that way, which I think would be really interesting. And another thing that you've got me thinking about is the idea that when AR and VR finally make it to the point where they're like usable and people enjoy using them, which I think has been the hardest part, because everybody says, oh, when AR VR takes off, but it's been here since like 2014. I remember when we had the Galaxy AR system and I was wearing it and I was like, I don't feel like I'm actually on this roller coaster, and I never used it again. It's the point when those are actually usable and enjoyable. I think it'll make it really interesting for people who have these different collectibles and stuff to put them into games and things like that.
So, do you ever see a use case for an NFT in a physical uh, aspect? As in, I'm not even sure if this has existed yet, if anybody has invented it yet. As in, like a photo frame where I can hang my NFTs. Do you see that happening, or is that already happening?
Well, I think one cool thing that could potentially happen is, I recently watched this video. I think it was for like a new version of Google Glasses. I can't remember. It was for some type of glasses technology. And whenever you wear the glasses and you just type on them, you can see like AR, and like you can see a tabletop with digital projections and stuff. So I think eventually we can basically just wear these glasses and probably just see things in real life that we want to show to different people. And I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I definitely see a future in AR and VR that we currently just can't even imagine. It brings me back to a movie I watched. What movie was that? Did you watch it? It was, I believe it was Ready Player One, where they had the VR headsets, and that was a great movie. I was like, wow, that it doesn't seem too far from what could happen one day. So I could definitely see NFTs being tied to that. Uh, Another topic that you brought out a few minutes ago was the fact that Bitcoin unlocks monetary aspects that poorer countries currently don't have. And I recently heard, I believe it was India, has been banning Bitcoin. Do you think that more countries are going to hop on that?
It's definitely happening. Like India's looking to ban Bitcoin. I am pretty sure Nigeria has banned Bitcoin. And interesting, I learned when I was talking with one of my interviewees, is basically you can ban Bitcoin, but Bitcoin, it never really goes away, because like I had kind of mentioned earlier, even if you don't use a program like Coinbase, you can go online and find somebody who will sell you Bitcoin, as long as you have like a ledger and an address that they can send it to, you can get it, you know? So I think that's interesting. And the thing is, you can never completely ban Bitcoin because it's decentralized. There's not one person who owns it. There's many nodes all over the world that run this program. So you may shut down a couple of them, but they'll just keep running without them. So you can't ever truly get rid of Bitcoin, but they're like trying to add fees and stuff, but it'll definitely always be here.
So earlier you mentioned that the book you're writing is you found the program that you're currently in because you're in a gap year. Where, I don't want to ask where you're going to college. What do you want to go to college for?
Well, in the next 2 weeks, I will be learning if I got into my dream college. So it might be embarrassing. It could be great. If I don't get in, it might be embarrassing, but I'm pretty sure I'll be going to University of Southern California for their Ivy and Young program, putting it into the universe that I get it. But they have an amazing program. It's the innovation of business, technology, and arts. So they teach you about coding, how to do video editing, and also the business aspect of running these different things, which really interests me because I've always been interested in learning a lot of things and not just one thing. So I would be really excited to be part of that program because, it gives you a wide variety of knowledge and you get to be integrated into a world where things aren't just in one single place. Like, you have to know how to do things that are interconnected with one another, which a lot of colleges don't do. They only teach you this one thing only, and when you really need to know multiple things.
So let's imagine you get into this college. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
So I see there's a few places I could see myself in 5 to 10 years. I'm not really stuck on one thing just because I've realized life changes so quickly, and one day you think you're doing one thing and then the next you're absolutely not doing that. Like, I really thought I was going to be in college right now and I'm not. So could see myself in investing or VC, maybe starting a fashion tech company, but those are probably like big 3 things I could see myself. And yeah, those are the big things that I'm definitely interested in. And I think it would be cool to work at a VC firm that deals with the new up and coming companies in crypto, or I talked a little bit about having a fashion tech company that deals with blockchain as well. I just think there's a lot of ways that you can kind of weave these different things together to create something new. And I definitely think it would be amazing to be part of something that helps to change the world in a positive way.
So you said you're going to college in California, correct? Or possibly going to college in California, correct?
Well, I'm definitely going to college in California because I have a spot saved at another college in California that I was supposed to go to, but then I took a gap year, so now I'm hoping to go to this other college. But California is definitely the move for me. You want to hear a funny story? When I was interviewing for the program, they were like, "We see you're in Tennessee. What shaped you from your time in Tennessee?" And I was like, I could not think of a good answer, and I just had to be honest. And I was like, what shaped me is the fact that I really dislike Tennessee and I want to leave. I want out so badly. Please get me out of here. This is basically what I said. And I was like, oh my gosh, Sade, are you really saying this to them? But it was the truth. And I was like, I want to be here at USC, living life, not in Tennessee.
California is definitely the move.
Yeah.
So in the future, say again, 5 to 10 years, maybe even further, what industries do you think could implement crypto that currently are not?
Yeah, so right now, there's companies that are looking into implementing blockchain into their technologies, and some of them are good use cases, some of them are bad use cases. One, I don't feel like every company needs to use blockchain. Sometimes they just use the word as a way to get hype around their company, so you have to be careful of that one. But one interesting use case that I found is within supply chain and agriculture. One of the people I talked to, she runs a company in this space, and basically it helps people in disenfranchised company make sure that they're getting their money's worth, because a lot of the times as a product moves from one place to another, the food might spoil in the car and stuff, and then they don't make the money that they were supposed to make. And the blockchain can help make sure that everything is being validated and what people say is the truth is actually the truth, which I thought was very interesting.
I guess I'm not really catching on that. It sounds like a great idea. Maybe I just don't understand how that would work. Do you have any more information on that, or?
Yeah, so basically, a farmer, they decide that they want to go sell their food in the marketplace in, like, the US. And the farmer agrees with the people in the US on a certain price. And then by the time they get there, the US might say, oh, this food went bad, you don't get this money. But since before it even gets to the US, each part of the supply chain, like the people driving the cars, they have to sign off on how much product there is and everything. And it's put on the blockchain, for a fact that it's the truth and it can't be changed. People can't like go back on their words and stuff. And then it helps to keep more money in their pockets. I still don't know if I'm explaining it amazingly, but yeah, that's kind of the
It's a
overall
very
point.
difficult
Yeah.
concept. Yeah. So you also mentioned that some companies are introducing blockchain, or what they say is blockchain, even though they shouldn't be. That makes me think of Facebook with their coin that I'm not, I don't think it's came out yet. Facebook, I think it was Libra. What are your thoughts on that?
So yeah, it was originally called Libra, and they've changed the name to DM because there's like a lot of controversy around the coin at one point or another. And actually went to like a Zoom call about DM, and I just was not very interested in it when I was listening to it. I just like, meh. eh. I didn't
Hmm.
necessarily enjoy their coin that much. I think, with the brand name Facebook behind it, it could be something that becomes really popular. But yeah, that's all I really have to say on that.
Yeah, that's another thing I don't really understand is how companies can tie their name to a decentralized thing such as Libra. And I know there's currently a lawsuit against XRP, Ripple, for almost the same thing, I believe, because uh, I think it's the SEC believes that they should be a security. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think Ripple will honestly be okay. I feel like they'll make it through this time, and I mean, it's a good project to me. I think it's pretty interesting, but overall, I think sometimes like these lawsuits and stuff, um, the companies just end up getting like a fine and they move on with their lives. Like if you notice, like almost no company that gets like a suit from the SEC ever really has any problems besides of having to pay a fine.
Yeah, it's really just like a slap on the hand. The big companies in America at least have a lot of power that the people really don't understand.
And in 2010, there was like this law passed that allows like corporations to donate high amounts of money to governments, people who are running for election. And when you do that type of stuff, of course, you're going to have influence, which I think is really unhealthy because, individuals I'm pretty sure, can only invest so much, but like they'll let corporations put as much money as they want into campaigns, which I think was really bad for, us as individuals because a lot of people are being influenced by the decisions that companies want to go through because they know they may lose their spot if they don't, which I think is really corrupt and wrong. But, here we are, anyways.
Another thing, for some reason, that remind me of is people think that the government, like I have to claim that I bought Bitcoin this year on my tax papers. People claim that completely ruins the whole idea of cryptocurrencies, decentralization. What are your thoughts on the government regulating cryptos?
No matter what, the government's gonna get their money. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna take their taxes on whatever it is. They don't care. But I think I mean, taxes suck and everything, but it's still good for a lot of consumers who can still end up getting hurt in the cryptocurrency market. There's a lot of scams out there where people lose lots of money. There's hacks. There has to be regulations in place for, new people who are getting in to be safe and secure. That's why we have centralized exchanges such as Coinbase, because they help to make it easier and more secure. And I just think that's part of what the territory that comes with any industry that comes out. You really can't get away from the government. It's always going to be there.
That's another thing that people bring up is the security of Bitcoin and how it is safe in online. Like, can you explain more on the security and privacy of Bitcoin?
Totally. So one cool thing is Bitcoin's like the only cryptocurrency that's never been hacked. Like the cryptocurrency or the blockchain itself, that nobody's ever been able to actually hack it, which makes it the most secure out of any of them, like Ethereum, all of them. And like the closest thing to a hack would be when I believe it was Mount Gox. Basically what had happened was the exchange itself got hacked and people lost money because the exchange got hacked and people, they took the Bitcoin that way. But nobody's been able to hack into the system itself, which is why people have so much trust in Bitcoin, is because there's the most proof that it's safe. It's been 11 years and not once. So I think that's a really big thing.
It's definitely something that if one day somebody does find a way to break into it, it's going to be catastrophic to all cryptocurrencies, really,
I mean,
I'd say.
I wouldn't really say that, just because banks get hacked all the time. I mean, banks have been hacked. They used to rob banks, go into banks and stuff, and you lose your money that
Mm-hmm.
way. People are always going to find a way into a system where there's money because people want money. So yeah, it will definitely probably hurt Bitcoin for a little bit, but people will get over it, just like people have gotten over the fact that banks have gotten hacked. That's why there's those rules in place where if something like that happens, you get this certain amount of money back. It's just part of the game when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to money, and that's why when you use Bitcoin or any blockchain, the big difference is instead of a bank being in charge of your security, you're in charge of your own security. So that means,
Mm-hmm.
having your own hardware wallet or software wallet, making sure that you keep track of where you put your extra password, not losing it, because you could lose all your money on your own. Nobody even has to hack you. You could just forget your password
Yeah.
and it's already over with. And you know what? That's even worse, because guess what? You weren't hacked. That money's sitting there and you can't get it.
Yeah. That's definitely something that I guess worries me. Um, I read a book actually about it. The thing you're talking about with if a bank gets hacked, a bank gets robbed, the FDIC's got your back. Technically, legally, $250,000 of your money is insured in the bank. But from the book I was reading, most of the time they'll insure just about every penny of yours. That's one thing that scares me a bit. Bitcoin is like, if I do somehow send it to the wrong person, or I know that some people accidentally send their Ethereum to their Bitcoin address and they just completely lose it. There's nobody to secure you, and so I know that definitely scares off a lot of investors.
Yeah, like I definitely know what you're talking about. Like my dad, he's almost lost some money a couple times. But the good thing is, every once in a while, if you get lucky enough, if you email the people, they can somehow get your money back, like just by doing something with the system. But 95% of the time, that's really not possible. So I understand 100% what you mean. That's why a lot of people haven't gotten into, like, buying their own cryptocurrencies and stuff, because okay, like 99%, there's like a 99% chance when you start out you're gonna lose some money because you did something wrong. That's just part of it. Like when I first got my um MetaMask, when I had first started, I forgot the password. um but I did write down my 12 word code and the seed code that you have to keep up
Oh
with.
yeah.
So I was able to get back in, but nobody's gonna help me if I couldn't. And I was like, I read all about this multiple times, and like I listened to podcasts, and people were like, almost lost this money. Like everybody will warn you left and right, but you don't learn until you do it yourself and you mess it up yourself. It's like just part of the journey, and the growing pains, I guess.
I guess it's definitely a system we're still getting used to since it is only like 15 years old, something like that. Do you own one of the physical wallets? Do you advise people to own one?
Definitely advise people to own their own hardware wallet. The only thing I've learned about the hardware wallets is you do have to make sure you keep up to date with the newest software changes, because if your hardware wallet isn't up to date, or it's too far back, it can become obsolete, which I think is actually another problem in itself. There's
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, so that's just a thing to check in every once in a while, which so with everything, there's always things that you have to keep up with, with the software wallet. You have to keep up with your seed code. Well, that's both of them and everything, but it's different. I feel like the software wallet, it is probably easier to get hacked on there as well than a hardware wallet. You might lose your hardware wallet, and then you won't be able to get in that way either. Like with the software wallet, you will still be able to, you'll always be on your laptop, which I think is a nice thing. So there's pros and cons to both of them, and I think that's why people have both types of wallets. And you just try to make sure everything's backed up as much as possible.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that when I first got into Bitcoin, people were saying you could literally write down your Bitcoin onto a piece of paper, and that's like the most secure way. I was like, wow, that's 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 complex. That's hard to grasp, I guess. And it's also another thing you said is the forgotten passwords. I want to look up actually the current number of people that have lost money and how much money. I'm gonna go look that up.
I remember reading this article a while back where this guy, he lost $1 million worth of cryptocurrency because he forgot his password, and he was just trying to hire a hacker to help him find it. I don't think he ever got back into that account though, so it's just sitting there.
Oh yeah,
And then there was another one I heard about where he only had 10 tries left, or the hardware wallet would
oh
self-destruct itself as well. So
yeah. So just a random guess. How many? I know the answer. How much money do you think have been lost to lost passwords?
57, no, 400 million.
No, 140 billion. That's a lot of money.
Like 57 billion, but I was like, that just sounds so high. So then I went way lower, and that's bad.
That's insane. That's a lot of money. And the only thing with Bitcoin is that's probably never going to be recovered. I mean, Bitcoin doesn't, at least to my knowledge, have a system to recover lost coins like that. That's crazy. But yeah, that's yeah, definitely. Oh, what was I just about to say? Oh, another thing I saw a few months back, probably actually 2 months back. A guy, he was seized by the police, and they asked him to give up his Bitcoin. So he gave him his wallet, and he just wouldn't tell him the code. But so I was like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, he shouldn't have to give up his Bitcoin. I mean, yes, he is a criminal. But yeah, whatever. The way he got the money also was he had an app that secretly used your phone to mine Bitcoin. So it's a really controversial thing right there, but it's really interesting to me that I mean, there's no way they could steal the Bitcoin from him as long as he had that 26 word phrase he remembers.
I totally do think, that's messed up what he did. But that
Yeah.
just show you, nobody can take your money if you have it.
Okay, so do you see? this author path that you're currently on in your future, do you see yourself writing more books?
Yeah, so I actually do want to write another book. It's completely well, not wholly off topic, but I really would like to write a book like about, fashion and maybe like how it relates to blockchain and add a little bit of that in, but just like how the fashion tech space is growing and what the future looks like. I want to write a book about the fashion industry and maybe just like how it's negatively impacting the world. I haven't completely figured that out, but that's just another thing that's really important to me. And I know they say like sometimes you have to pick something and stick with it, but like I'm like I can write about whatever I want to write about. So I think fashion is something I want to look into next.
Yeah, it's definitely great because I feel, I guess, the same because you wrote blockchain because you didn't really know much about it and you wanted to learn and you're still learning about it. And I'm starting the podcast strictly so I can learn and then see what happens, the social media aspect, see if anybody wants to watch. So I definitely relate to you on that part. Uh, and for our last question here, who are your inspirations?
So I feel like I'm supposed to have like really like philosophical inspiration or whatever. Like, my mom and my dad definitely shout out to them 1,000%. But like mine is Rihanna.
Rihanna.
Yes. I I can totally explain this though. So basically, I feel like everybody sees Rihanna as like this big music influencer, but she's so much more, especially the fact that she owns like 5 businesses. Like she started where she had to get where she is now. She's able to do what she wants. Like I feel like she did that for like 20 years, but it was only one step in her journey, and it shows that you can pivot from one thing to another without ever truly getting stuck. Like people are always like, where's the next album at, sis? But she's living her life for what matters to her and not what matters to everybody else, and I think that's super important. And just the fact that she's been able to capitalize what she's done into the past into her own makeup brand, her own fashion house, her own whatever she wants, she makes it happen. I just think that's really amazing and inspires me in so many ways.
That was actually a really great answer for Rihanna. I was not expecting that.
I know. I don't think
Do you have
anybody
any
was.
favorite? Yeah, no, I was like, wow, okay, that was really deep. Do you have some message you want to say to yourself in the future? So when you watch back on this video in 10 years, what do you want to say to yourself?
No matter what, even when you think, oh, this is a waste of time, I've tried it so many times and I've failed over and over again. Like, why am I still doing this? You just trust the process and trust yourself, because you have what it takes is if you believe in yourself.
That's great. I definitely should have prepared you for that question instead of just making you come up with something on the spot. But that was a great
Yeah,
answer.
that was a hard question.
Okay, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Paradigm, Paradigm underscore SADE, Sade. I know that's like SADE, that doesn't spell Sade. Yes, it does, actually.